recording. Yes. She said, oh, yeah. No, I know. No, look, I don't, I try not. That's noise a lot.
Okay, let's do some support.
Is it up there?
Where?
It says you're sharing your screen.
I'd like to bring the mayor and town council work session, April the 14th, 2025 to order. We are in the Worcester County Government Center, boardroom 1102, and it is approximately 5:01. This evening, we have a budget work session. And if you take a look at the agenda, we have a presentation by Jean Holloway from ZERCAP, and it will be the wastewater treatment, wastewater bill rate analysis for the town of Selby first. And then we will have our accounting firm give us some financials from our audit for this year. And then we will continue budget discussions. And these budget discussions will be on administration and capital improvement. Then we will consider a date for the engineering consultants' presentations. So at this time, I would like to present Jean Holloway. Council has received her report, and that was given to everyone on Friday. So at this time, she will give her presentation and we will be able to have questions from council and me. So thank you for coming.
Here, thanks. Just a little preface. This was a little bit of a surprise to me, some of these results, but don't throw vegetables, please. The rate analysis, again, I'm now a contractor for ZERCAP. I was employed and I'm retired and I'm contracting with them. And in the audience is one of my colleagues who is going to learn how to do this so that I can fully retire in another year or two. The ZERCAP stands for Southeast Rural Community Assistance Partnership. We are one of 7 such nonprofits, standalone nonprofits, that banded together and formed the Rural Community Assistance Partnership. We serve from Delaware down to Florida for our region. We were begun in 1974. We are the oldest of all the different partners. Some background for those of you who maybe weren't here during the previous presentation. I did a study for the town in 2023. We used figures from FY22 actual and the budget for 23-24 at the time. These updated figures are from the town's own budget, audited financials, and actual production and usage reports for 2024. Projections are made at a flat rate of inflation, 5% inflation. I do use just arbitrarily a higher percentage for things like fuel, electricity, and insurance, because those are the things that are likely to go up that much more. We've had several meetings with the town's management team consisting of Mr. Pollitt, Mayor Simpson, and Ms. Hampstead here to kind of refine these figures and make sure everything's right. Just a couple of quick background things and 3 things that should be done before any rate change. Should get a handle on the non-revenue water, and I'll talk each one of these things individually as well. Water that costs to produce and treat, but no revenue comes in. Sewer that costs to collect and treat, but no revenue comes in. That's non-revenue water and sewer. The gallons that are included in any base charge should be at an optimum level to encourage conservation, pardon me, and guard against wasting. And the other thing is to get a grip on collections. Any community should be collecting at least 95% of what is billed before the next bill is due. Snow Hill's non-revenue water has made great strides since the 2023 study. It was 21.1% of the total production then. It is, and I usually recommend, AWWA recommends 10%. I usually recommend for small towns 15%, because anywhere from 8 to 10% will be in the system at any given time. And that's water you'll eventually get paid for, but that water has to stay in the system. Since 2023, the superintendent's made some significant improvements, and even though we don't have figures exact to prove it, it is now believed to be closer to 15%, which is where it should be. So that's a good stride in the right direction. Non-revenue water doubles the lost revenue when sewer charges are based on metered water, so it's even more important. Your gallon allowance is at 6,000 in the base bill. I prefer 0, but I recommend no more than 3,000 gallons per month or 9,000 gallons per quarter. So 6,000 is certainly reasonable. That's not an issue. The staff felt that 6,000 should be maintained. Your collection rate is exemplary. You're already exceeding the 95% of what I recommend. So you don't need to work on that. And that is something that that's not the norm. I have seen as low as 75% of what's billed not getting collected. So you're doing really well there. Now, as far as the water analysis goes, I always calculate an average cost, which is to say the first 1,000 gallons costs you the most, because that's the plant startup, that's all of the employees, that's all of the chemicals, et cetera, et cetera. Last 1,000 gallons costs you the least. But somewhere in the middle of those thousands of gallon units, there is an average cost. And your average cost in 2023 was $8.16 for water, and it is now up to $10.71. And chances are this is simply inflation. Everything has gotten more expensive. The average revenue collected per 1,000 gallons has improved drastically. It's up to $9.97, which is a vast improvement. As I recall, there's about a $5 or $6 gap before. So this is not meant to say that the town needs to charge that much for water. It's just an average cost to give you something to compare to. At present, the rates and rate structure show a projected deficit of about 58,000, or not quite 59,000 for the test year. Now, having said that, the new rates have only been in place for 9 months out of that year. So that could be a little bit skewed. It might be closer to being on target. The other thing is that we had usage figures was not the same as not the same year as the financial figures. So there might be a little bit of difference there. The water system, as you know, has no debt. So any debt that might be incurred in the future is going to change that picture considerably. And just as an aside, I was reading an article yesterday in Water Daily, which is an industry publication. And they were commenting on the effect of the tariffs and what that's going to do to water and wastewater costs. Chances are it's going to go up considerably, particularly for chemicals and pipe and hydrants, parts in general. So it's something that is not likely to go back down, and that is not something that any of us can control at this point. Now, the usage blocks that I looked at, almost 75% of your customers use 15,000 gallons or less per quarter. An average bill for an average residential customer, just a rule of thumb for comparison, is usually considered to be 5,000 gallons a month or 15,000 gallons a quarter. So almost 75% of your customers are getting that 6,000 gallons in the base charge and not paying anything extra for water. 28%, not quite 30%, use less than 4,000 gallons, or 4,000 or less, I should say. The prospective rate scenario is the current rate is $50 with $7.70 for all 1,000 gallons over 6,000. The proposed rate is the same base charge of $50, but to eliminate that 58.7 deficit, it needs to go up to $9.65 for those over 1,000 gallons. So any users under 6,000 gallons will not see any change. Higher end users will see a small change, less than $2 for every 1,000 gallons that they use. But everyone will only pay for what they use, under 6,000 or over 6,000. This also proposes that out-of-town customers will pay 2 times the in-town rate. What this means for that average user of 5,000 gallons a month, which again, almost 75% of your customers are with you. An average in-town household will pay about $17 more per quarter and about $70 more per year. And anybody under 6,000 or under will not pay any more. Wastewater, unless there's questions on the water, I'll just go on to the wastewater. This was a bit of a surprise to me. The average cost per 1,000 gallons went up by almost $6, by more than $5.80 per 1,000 from the previous study. It was $20.03, I think, or $20.03, and it's up to $25.83. I can't attribute this to any one thing, but my guess is that electric power has a big role in that. Because of the rate increase for Delmarva Power, and there's not much you can do about that unless you want to install a solar field somewhere. The average revenue, however, per 1,000 gallons is only $14.61. That is an improvement from the last study, but it's still a big gap, $11.20 some gap between the revenue you're collecting on the average and the average cost. Your wastewater costs 2.5 times as much as the water. The last study, it was about twice as much. It's about 2.5 times as much. There is a serious deficit projected of $446,000. But if you recall, it was almost $600,000 last time. And it had been in the hole for so long, 1 year is probably not going to be enough to bring it back. So this is trying to get it back up to where it should have been all along. But again, from what I'm reading, it's just likely to go up more in terms of cost. The unanticipated costs, like inflation, have obviously contributed to this. The mid-season change in the electric bill, I'm sure, had something to do with it. I have not analyzed that, but it has to have had something to do with it. But I was really surprised at how much the cost per 1,000 gallons had gone up. Again, based on metered water and that usage and the new revenue stream from the newer rates that were enacted last have only been enforced for 9 months. But it's hardly likely that that will make up for $400-some thousand those 3 months. There's already some debt for the town, and any capital improvement is going to make that deficit obviously more pronounced. But the worst part is that it may affect your ability to get funding assistance if it's not addressed. Prospective rate scenario here is the current rate is $135 base charge, $12.35 over 1,000 gallons. The proposed rate is $150 base charge and $17.10 per 1,000 over 6,000 gallons. All users are going to see some kind of an increase. And if you have the report, in the report, there's a comparison for different levels of usage, what it's going to mean to different folks. The higher end users will see the most significant change. The out-of-town customers, again, would pay two times the in-town rates. And again, what this means for an average user of 15,000 gallons of water, they will pay $57.75 more per quarter for sewer and $231 more per quarter for sewer. But 75% of your customers use 15,000 gallons or less, so they are likely not to see much more increase than that. The written report gives you a lot of details that I have not covered here. I've just tried to summarize this as best I could. It's not cooperating. Here we go. You got a lot more details in the written report. But both systems have to be sustainable in and of themselves without subsidy from the general fund in order to be eligible for capital improvement programs and to make them sustainable, period, for the long haul. A full month, 12 months of figures at the new rates may improve the financial picture, but it's probably not going to be enough to solve the deficit altogether. On the upside, you've made some pretty great strides to improve the deficit and the level of non-revenue water. So as far as I can see, you're not wasting anything, which is always a good thing to hear. But it will almost certainly take more than 1 or 2 years to make up for this long-term deficit that you inherited in the wastewater facility. Deficits are likely to just increase over time simply because of inflation. Obviously, if you get big new development or a big new user and you have more people and more connections to spread the costs out over, that's going to keep the rates down. But if nothing changes, costs are going to go up. I mean, we've seen that from the last study to this study. It went up $5 a thousand, over $5 a thousand. So, with very few changes. Recommendations, increase the rates as soon as you possibly can, as soon as your software and your billings will allow you to do so. Continue with the replacement of outdated meters, which I don't know whether you have a whole lot left. That was an issue before. and keep monitoring the level of non-revenue water, which I think they're doing a good job of that from what I can see. And you may want to think about a short-term, maybe capital improvement plan, like a 5-year plan, along with an asset management plan. That was recommended with the last study, and that's something that CERCAP can help you do too, if you want. It was also suggested that a flat capital improvement charge on the wastewater bill, similar to what has been done for water bill for years, might be something that you can use as a set-aside cushion for emergencies, for, major equipment replacement without a full-scale capital improvement project. I did not include that in any of this analysis. That's just a suggestion. And that's pretty much a summary of what I have, but I would encourage you to read the full report because there's a lot more detail in there, projections for the 5-year period and things like that. I believe you need your mic back.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Could you go over non-revenue water? Exactly, what does that mean?
It's revenue that costs you pull out of the ground to treat and to distribute into the system, but you don't get any money for. That means it can be leaks, it can be fires, it can be use in the system, it can be a lot of different things. But from what I understand, you start out with unaccounted for water, and then you account for what you can. Okay, we had 2 fires. We know we pumped so many gallons a minute. We ran the hoses for so many hours. We can figure out how many gallons we use a year. We know how many gallons town hall uses or how many gallons we use to backwash filters at the plant, things like that. And you reduce that down as far as you can with known uses that don't bring in any revenue to come up with that bottom line figure, and that's what you want to keep between 10 and 15%. 10% you're never going to find because that's going to be in the system at any given time.
Okay, so you think we're doing pretty good at 15 because we were at 21%.
Oh, yeah.
Not non-revenue, so
Right.
that's not being paid for.
Right, exactly. And there will always be, as I say, 8 to 10% in the pipes, in water pipes. Because unlike sewer pipes, they always have water in them.
They always have
Yeah,
water.
sewer pipes don't. They only have stuff in them when there's a flow, but water pipes always have water in them. If they don't, you've got a bigger problem.
Yeah, that is pretty big. Yes, definitely. So you're talking about people, or, county, or that we do not charge for the water.
Even your own buildings
Our
should
buildings.
be metered, even if you don't charge yourself a water bill, which you would. You still know how much water is going out. And that also helps you to identify any leaks If your non-revenue water for a given month was 10% and suddenly next month it jumps up to 15%, okay, we gotta go look for a leak.
So I know we have started putting meters
Mhm.
and so that information goes into what you estimate also. I mean, if it's metered, do you get that information?
All I have is what they produced, what the plant produced, and what had been billed out. So I don't necessarily get that information. I'm taking their word for it that they have reduced it because they have identified some major losses that were not identified before. So I take them into account in general, but I don't see the numbers per se.
Okay. One other thing, out of town.
Mhm.
So what do we charge? We charge 1.5 for people, houses that use our water and our sewer. Now,
Mhm.
so that means out of the town limits.
Right, right.
And now we are charging them twice as much.
That's what was suggested.
Suggested, okay.
And that's what these figures are based on.
And that-
Obviously, if you want to stay with the 1.5, then that deficit is going to be exacerbated.
So that would help us.
Yeah.
With our revenue.
Because that was information that I didn't have at first in terms of the number of out-of-town gallons that were used. And once I factored that in, I originally had a $10.65 1,000 gallons of water calculated to erase the deficit. But I was able to bring it down to, it was 10, what was it, 10.35, I think, was able to bring it down to 9.65 by that out-of-town charge.
Okay.
And if you want to stay with 1.5, then I can go on board and recalculate. But Lou's probably going to hit us both with a bat, because she'll have to mess up the budget, so.
Right. Okay, thanks. Council, any questions? We'll start with Councilperson Fletcher. If you have any questions, Ms. Holloway.
Okay. So you're saying the study has not, in your study, you have not counted for the buildings and places that aren't being billed and metered for water.
I don't know what you have that you don't bill for water. I only know the figures that he gives me from the production wells and the figures that she gives me from billing. So
So-
if you don't bill them, I don't get into that at all.
So tell me how that would make a difference if you knew the numbers from the buildings that of the amount of water usage compared to what people are being billed for.
Well, if you brought that, if what I'm being told is correct, that you've brought your non-revenue water down below that 15% or less, then that's all I need to know. Then you're where you need to be. In terms of what dollar amount that would be, I could calculate it. I can't do it sitting here in my head, but I could calculate it, I would suppose.
But it would make a difference.
It might, but you have to remember that some of that non-revenue water is stuff that's used in the process at the plant. It's stuff that's used in the town hall, in the buildings, in the bathrooms.
I'm basically talking about buildings that we're not keeping track of how much water is being.
Again, I would suggest that they be metered so that you know, number one. And in terms of what that would mean for an annual boost to your revenue, I have no idea without knowing what buildings those are and how much they use.
And that was that in your study? If I read this, but was that in your study before to keep meter buildings and places that?
It was a recommendation before to keep replacing meters. And if you had at one time, and I don't know how many have been replaced, but the first study, you still had meters that only registered 1,000 gallons. So if somebody used 990 gallons, it didn't trip till they got over that 1,000-gallon mark. But I think you've replaced all of those. Now they register every gallon. And that will make a big difference. That's part of what's brought your for the non-revenue down. And again, that's a great stride to come from 21%, over 21%, down to 15. That's a good thing.
Mr. Wilt, can you talk about meters or Kempner?
What, chiming in on?
Yeah, you can chime in.
So basically, like she was saying, so I have to report to the state what we produce every month, at our water system, what we're pumping out of the ground. Based on those numbers and what Melissa's billing out, that difference is what we come up with, about 15% where we're not billing. We've been able to reduce that a lot by replacing out the meters, identifying places and trying to be more accountable for our water. We've been able to reduce that down probably closer to 15%.
Okay. All right, have we metered everything? Do we know yet? Or we're in the process of doing it? Okay.
And as I
Takes a
said,
while.
even if you don't build
Takes a
yourself,
while.
you need to know what you're using.
Okay, Mr. Lumpkins?
And I'll finish.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't want, go ahead.
And so if you're saying if the 6 people that use over 6,000 gallons, if this increase was, it would be, the 1722 per quarter added, or did
That
I
would
not
be,
get the
that
right
would be,
number?
I'd have to look at it again to tell you the truth, but it's about that. People, that are using 15,000 gallons, because that's the majority of your customers. People, and the average bill, again, that's kind of a rule of thumb that we use. Right here.
This isn't dense. This is where 15,000.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. Anybody that's using 6,000 or under will see no difference. They'll pay the same thing they're paying now. Anybody using over 6,000 or up to 15,000, which is the majority of your customers, will pay about $17.22 more per quarter and about $70 more per year.
That's
And
for water.
For water only, yeah, for water only now. But anybody that's using under the minimum, the 6,000 gallons isn't gonna see a difference.
So what is that, what would that price amount have to do with sewer?
Well, sewer is a whole lot, I analyze them separately. The sewer is based on meter water usage, but and your costs are different, and I analyze the costs differently. So for sewer, it would mean that same 15,000 gallon customer would be using 15,000 gallon customer, again, average household in town would be paying $57.75 more per quarter for sewer than they are now. And $231 more per year than they are now. And there are charts in that report that lay that out, what each level of usage would be paying. And the difference. I forget which page it's on, I want to say 7 or 8.
So even if they use only 6,000 gallons.
If they use only 6,000 gallons, they're going to be paying the difference between, we're paying $15. more.
$15.
Yeah, 135 and 150.
So if they can keep it 6,000 or less, then
Right,
they're gonna be
Right.
in much better shape.
right.
They'll have to conserve as much as they can
Yeah.
if they want to do that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, something to be prepared for, and it is not built into these rates necessarily. I think it'll be all right, but something that typically happens when rates go up is people automatically start to conserve,
Mhm.
which means your revenue goes down. So what typically happens is people start to ramp back up. Once they realize it's a difference of a couple of dollars, 1,000, they'll go back up and water the flowers. But in the beginning, you may have a drop in the revenue stream. Very common.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And there are ways to encourage conservation if that's what you want to do. I have a class that I've taught on how to build a conservation plan from scratch. So that's something for the future if you want to think about it. Did that answer your question, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay. But again, I would encourage you to go through the report and look at the charts because I've laid out 3,000, 6,000, 9,000, 12,000 per quarter and the difference that people would pay for both water and for sewer.
Anything else? Yeah. Okay, Councilperson Hawkins.
One question for Bobby.
Yeah.
Are we metering the fire department and checking how much?
I think we got portable meters that we put out there on the hydrants when we're filling up the trucks.
Okay,
And I believe that's being reported over to Randy, if I'm not mistaken. But I
okay.
think we purchased a couple portable ones.
That's how we're checking how much water the fire department should.
Wouldn't be a bad idea once in a while to double check, you know, when it comes to a fire flow to make sure. Because if you know you're pumping, I don't know what your pump rate is, but
I got the figures.
yeah, you can figure that out pretty easy. It's just math.
Mhm.
How much water is going out?
Yeah, you know the duration of the water
In the
usage duration of the fire or how many truckloads even.
Okay.
You know, it's a 2,000 gallon tanker or whatever.
Anything else? Councilperson Lane.
Great interest in your report. The one that's home, I should have bought, it's all marked up.
You should see my copy.
Yeah, am I correct that when we look at the cost of sewers, we're looking at $25.80 a 1,000 gallons, is that correct?
No, I don't believe so. I believe it was 1710
Okay, so I
is what's
have,
proposed.
I have,
Yeah, 1710.
Are you on?
Oh, I'm sorry, you're talking about the average cost. Yes, the average cost. Again, the first 1,000 gallons costs way more than that. The last 1,000 gallons costs way less than that because of economies of scale. So I just compute the average cost per 1,000 gallon, just for the basis of comparison. Not to say that you should be charging $25 by any means.
and at that rate, just on that thing, at that rate, I have here that the revenue from that $1,014.61.
That, again, the
Yeah.
average revenue per 1,000.
And the average difference is $11.20. I'm now as I look at it and sit here now and try to think about talking with, while you cannot tell us, but I think that what the council may want to look at is how do we in the long term, short term, long term, increase revenues to offset the cost?
Well, first of all, I think that the 1710 that's proposed, while it won't offset that whole $25 per 1,000, your last 1,000 gallons, your last 1,000,000 gallons probably doesn't cost you 1710. Probably costs you less than that. And I'm not a cost accountant. I can't do that. But your first 1,000,000 gallons may cost you $30. So that 25 is just an average for the basis of comparison. So that 1710 is kind of the middle ground, and that will help to cover the cost, I hope. But with the tariffs in place, it's a crapshoot, to be quite honest.
Speculate. If we looked at a capital improvement program, you put this project, bring it up. Are there any estimates that we can look at, not right sitting here, in terms of what that total cost is going to be? Because when we come back to the bottom line, it's going to be, how do you pay for it, you know? So that's what I'm trying to get some perspective.
Sure. Any decent engineering firm, when they're doing a planning for a capital project, and I would suggest if you send out an RFP, you put this in there as a requirement, that any decent engineering firm will give you options to accommodate what you're trying to do in a capital project. And the ones that I've seen give you what it'll do to your operating cost and what it'll do to your debt service. So I've seen towns that had 3 options and maybe one had a higher operating cost, but a lower debt service, and maybe they chose that one. And another town may come along and say, well, I want the lower operating cost. So that'd be something that you would make that choice at the time. I mean, that's pretty standard in an engineering report, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, they will give you those options if you have a capital improvement project, they should.
And I'm exploring these with you.
Sure.
Because I don't know. So,
Sure. I'm not taking offense, I'm just trying to think how to best express it.
Um, given our population, Snow Hill, an aging, large number of people like myself, okay, I put it that way, okay, like that. Certainly, the concern is how to make it pay for them. That's everybody's concern. And I believe from what I'm looking at, that we may be looking at trying to consider a capital improvement program. When I say this, is, I know, again, based on your, have you seen another township, say, like similar to Snow Hill, that has tried a capital improvement program around the same kinds of concerns that we would have?
Sure.
With what's been the?
I mean, there's as many different answers to that as there are water and sewer systems, probably, because, I'm not trying to be evasive, but your cost centers are your cost centers. Your cost centers are not the same as Berlin's cost centers, they're not the same as Pocomoke's cost centers, Ocean City's cost centers, relative to population. So your cost centers are what they are, and you have to cover those costs. The unfortunate truth is, and I'm not throwing any stones at anyone, the unfortunate truth is that it has been run at a deficit for a while. And y'all are stuck with it. And it's got to be brought back up to snuff, quite frankly. And if there's any press here and I see that in the paper, I'm going to go look at it. But seriously, it is, and I don't know why, how, when it got that way. I don't think anybody here is responsible. It was run at a deficit, and your rates were upside down. When I did the last study, you were charging less for sewer than you were for water per 1,000 gallons, and the sewer at that time was costing twice as much. The costs have escalated enough. Sewer is always more expensive. It's now 2.5 times as much. And I shudder to think where it's going to end up, quite frankly. For anybody, not just Snow Hill. Hey, and I paid the bill here too. So.
You're a resident.
Yeah.
Well,
Final,
It'll be.
proper, yes.
final.
Sure.
Looking for revenue. If reasonable, there was development over that's not gonna happen, but that's 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
But at some point out there.
Yeah.
What, if you had to put a kind of measurement of what type of relief would that give with?
Well, first of all, you would need to look at your impact fees. If you have a per connection impact fee for new connections. And you would have to make sure that you had sufficient capacity to serve those new units. And if there is, I'm sure you've been through this before, if there's an annexation, you can get exactions from the developer whereby they share costs and things like that. So that's a very subjective, negotiable process. There is no one template for it. But your impact fees would certainly go far to help paying for that. They would also help you to pay, as they're designed to help you to pay for the local share of any capital improvement program. If you had a $10 million project, heaven forfend, and you got 9 million of it from the state and EPA, you've still got to come up with $1 million, and that would be an accumulated fund to help you pay for the local share. There's almost always a local share, and it's usually 10%, sometimes it's more.
Very helpful. Thank you for your report, work that you've done over the period of time. And I appreciate your response to me because I think it helps me and others here. But I think that the big thing is the people sitting in the audience really need to understand. And I think this has been very helpful for them to understand what's taking place and what we've got to deal with. Because like you said, it didn't happen yesterday. It didn't get there yesterday. Don't point no fingers at who done it?
Yeah.
Who done it?
Well,
But
it's
been done.
immaterial now,
Yeah.
you've got to deal with it
Yeah.
regardless. So.
Thank you so much.
Certainly. And I would encourage any of the council, my phone number is on the slide, well, it was, it's on the report, or it's, I'll give it to you anyway.
We got it.
Call me.
We got it.
Rick knows how to get it.
Any other questions from council? No? You good? I'm good?
Sure.
All right, we have a representative
Yes, Ryan. Yeah.
from
All I think.
Mr. Taylor, come on up.
My seat to him.
And this is our representative, Ryan, Mr. Taylor from, thank you, Jeannie, so much.
Sure.
From our auditing firm and, give us some remarks about water and sewer and how it affects our town with the financial stability.
I'll try not to repeat anything she said, but she did make some good points that kind of relate to what I'm talking about. I think the one thing to consider is the water and sewer funds are considered enterprise funds. So they're essentially, what that means is they're to be run like a business. So they're supposed to be profit centers for the town. Any excess profit is essentially to support the town's operations. So similar to how, each fund is budgeted for, we really want those funds to be netting to zero with any profit being transferred to the general fund. But at current moment, I kind of mocked up something of the past 6 years. We are showing deficits for nearly every year, even looking at it on more of a cash basis. The past few years, we have seen pretty significant declines. And specifically with unrestricted net position, the vast majority of the net position is invested in your capital assets. That is, as of FY24, it's just about 11.6 million of the 12.3 million net position of the sewer fund. But looking back from 2019, this unrestricted net position was at around 2 million, and now we're down to about 750,000. And these past 3 years are where we've really seen that rising cost. Obviously, with 24, there was that slight increase due to the slight effect of those new rates. But overall, the costs, I think, are the main thing. And I guess what's to be considered also is, to be considered an enterprise fund, it has to make money. It has to keep, it has to be self-sustaining. So at some point we have to say, if this deficit's too much, if there becomes to be an unrestricted deficit rather than net position, we have to say, can this survive on its own, or does it need to be reclassified to a governmental fund? And then with the general fund budget, we have to say, okay, we need to budget funds to help support this entity. Whereas the enterprise funds are supposed to be supporting the general fund in and of itself, not the other way around. So we're supposed to have these profit centers that are important to the town, but for the past several years, it's been more of a detriment to the town due to the activity of those funds. But not to be so doom and gloom about it. And again, we're just looking at the numbers. We're not always really looking at the fiscal management itself, but we do, in our presentations, we try to look at, days operating expenses in fund balance to see, how long can each fund survive. This is mainly for the general funds. But as we move forward and, if there is any funds that are needed to cover the sewer fund, that's obviously going to affect the general fund in turn. So whereas these should be supporting the town, it's kind of like the town has to support that. So I guess it's at some point with the rate increase. I can't really speak on it. We're supposed to be independent and not influence management's decisions. But I think due to the kind of the precedent set with, rates being the same for a long period of time, I think that's why maybe now it's kind of proven to be a difficult conversation. Besides that, I didn't too much else to go over. So. Anything else you can talk about?
I think ARPA funds that were used to help stabilize.
Yes, and I think, the past couple of years, we've had some, supplemental funding that's kind of helped to support and maybe kind of stretch things out a bit. So like the ARPA funding, obviously there was portions allocated to the general fund, to the sewer fund, and to the water fund. So that's kind of was unanticipated revenue at the time. That's kind of helped to, keep things afloat a little
So
bit
can
more.
I just slow you down?
Sorry, I did.
No, that's okay, that's okay. Explain kind of so everybody can hear about the ARPA funds and what they did for towns, around
Right.
us in Maryland.
So the American Rescue Plan Act, this was enacted as a result of the pandemic, it was to provide funds to towns to kind of navigate through the effects of the pandemic. Obviously, parts of this includes just normal operating expenditures, but also includes lost revenue. And so based on that funding, there was an allocation made when it was received to kind of allocate those funds between the general fund, the sewer fund, and the water funds. So part of that funding is helping or helped a bit, back in FY 22, FY 21. But now we're kind of without that. We kind of have to see where we end up without that funding.
And so we, the town, use those ARPA funds to help the plant in particular.
Right, yeah. Yeah. So it was obviously a big help, and it was definitely needed. But going forward, I don't think that's, you can't reasonably predict when you're gonna get funding like that.
Right.
So.
Hopefully
it's
we'll
one of
have
those, you never know.
pandemic.
But,
Yes.
but yeah, and I think like Jean had mentioned with the installations, obviously that can be a source of revenue. Actually, looking at 22 and 21, I believe there was the new development, the hunting
Hunting fields.
field.
Mhm.
So in the sewer fund specifically, we did see a pretty sharp increase in revenue from that. So, and I think in the financials themselves, it's in a miscellaneous category, but it was around 100,000 for each year. And that was for the total development of that fund over those 2 years. So it is nice to have those extra, installation fees, but still, I don't think it's enough to cover, without that, rate increase.
Anything else you need to add?
There's in addition to this, we're going to lose revenue, correct?
Okay, go ahead.
So, through the years past, I think the town relied on septage and leachate to help offset the rates for the residents. And we have, for the last couple of years, we tried to instill it again this year. But there's no revenue for that being budgeted going forward. Because it's Bobby's waiting for additional testing to determine whether the town can continue with that.
I think it was nearly all of fiscal 24 that the plan was.
We have
to
none.
be able to collect. And I have a few printouts, and if you look at the second line, you can actually see that it's a 6-year kind of revenue and expense of the sewer fund. And on that second line, so first we have the meter charges, and then we have that septage and leachate revenue. So you can see how much it was, roughly about 180 to 200,000 per year. That, was down to below 10,000. So we had the big rate increase for 24, but then that was almost offset a bit because we missed out on that revenue. So that's another thing to consider. But I do have a few printouts of you.
But the septage leachate does not have a good effect on the plant.
No. And we have new testing requirements in the state that are kind of hindering that right now. We're awaiting more results.
Because we want to make sure our water, we have good drinking water, and that was not
And we're staying in compliance.
in
with the state of
compliance
Maryland.
with the state of Maryland.
Here's a couple copies of this. This is
Okay.
looking at like just a 6-year trend of
I mean, can I ask a question on that subject there?
Yeah.
Mayor,
Sure.
what is it gonna take to put the plant in operating order to restart taking and retaking it? Is it a dollar thing?
No, so it's a testing requirement that the state put out, for PFAS. And the stuff, we did our first initial testing for PFAS. I was able to isolate the septic from the plant that tested positive. It was a high level. The rest of the plant going to the river was low level. So we discontinued septic. We're waiting our next test results without septic entering the plant, being anywhere in it and seeing if those levels come back down. If they do, then we know that's an issue. If we were to ever retake that again, we need all sorts of new treatment processes to take it and treat it. So we're talking millions of dollars to treat that again.
Okay, any other questions from council? Councilperson Fletcher? Would like to ask? Any questions?
No.
Good. Councilperson, you do? Good. Yes, Mr.
Can I ask
Waller?
you a question, please? And this question comes from all sincerity, because this is a new situation for me. Following Ms. Holloway's leave, I don't want to point fingers. This is the first place where I've been where a budget that is designed by law and by responsibility is supposed to match revenues with expenses. I've never been anywhere where a budget has been so far out of whack. And as we understand, it's been building up over years. I understand the idea of kicking the can down the road because it's painful and we don't want to do it this year. So we'll see if we can't wait another year. And it gets worse. We get deeper in the hole. They always say the best way to get out of a hole is to stop digging first. What I want to ask you is how long can a public body or a local government continue to operate at a deficit before other consequences come to bear, either on the integrity of our fiscal house, the confidence other governments have in us when we apply for grant funding? How long can we continue to operate at a deficit until other consequences come to bear? And what are some of those consequences that we could face if we don't get our house in order?
It's a very loaded question. I think, as Gene has stated, obviously grant funding is a big thing that pops out. If they're seeing that, these funds are being managed correctly, they may start to question, are they good candidates for that grant funding? But then on the other side, I think, you can only supplement the fund so much from the general fund. You can start to chip away at that deficit, but, it's not going to happen overnight. So I think it's going to be trending downwards for a bit still. And it's kind of a thing of how long can the general fund maintain, funding that. So it's hard to predict. I don't think it's gonna be anything in the next year or two. But again, I don't think I can really say with certainty. With not knowing how gradual or how dramatic the rate increases will be, beyond 26 and further, but yeah, I'd have to look into that more. But with more up-to-date information, obviously we're kind of looking back to 24 now. We're almost, looking at the end of 25. So I have to see where we're at for 25. Once we come in for our procedures, so maybe we can have a better idea of that. But until that.
I understand. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No.
We're trained in this business we're the original nonprofit agency. A government is not in business to make money, but we have to pay for what we spend. And water and sewer are probably next to public safety, the most important services a municipality or any government provides. And we want our water to be healthy. We want to be able to flush the toilet and know when it's going to move. And we're heavily regulated by the state and federal government as to the quality of our water and sewer service. There's a price tag to all of that work. And it's going to cost more next year than it does this year. And Councilman Lee was talking about where's the revenue. The revenue comes from our rate structure. And my concern is as long as our rates the rates producing the revenue do not match the expense of providing the service, at some point, our fiscal house is gonna be in serious, serious trouble. We've been relying on reserves to balance the budget, and those reserves are almost gone. You know, the piggy bank is almost empty. And so at some point, the town of Snow Hill is gonna be regarded by other agencies in federal, state government as to whether we're a good risk for loans and grants and that sort of thing. So it makes this whole conversation very, very serious. And frankly, as I say, I've not been in this position before, so I don't know what those consequences might look like from a practical standpoint if we don't get our house in order. So I wasn't trying to trap you. I don't know what those answers are.
Mayor?
Councilperson Lee?
I have 2 points. I really respect what you just said. We really have to learn. But I want to be candid in terms of not how we got here, but there's bigger pie that we got to look at that is impacting upon possibly those decisions in the past, but specifically going forward. And I think that in terms of going forward, I think that we, as we go through this process, must take into account the other factors of any government and government decision-making that is impacting this decision. And again, you know, it's not going to be easy to do, but it is not just this decision alone. I would like to ask Ms. Hampstead a question, if I may. If we, for this conversation here, what were the figures that are being recommended in the budget in terms of increase?
You mean specifically per
Yeah.
gallon?
Yes.
And might I say, Ryan is, the last year that's been audited, fiscal year 24 is what he's speaking to. And for the last 6 years, we've had to put reserve funds in to maintain. In fiscal year 25, the current year we're in right now, you have $300,000 in reserves in the budget before you reach the end of the year. There's what, $750,000. This fiscal year 26 budget initially was short that balance, which is leaves zero. That's how, I'm corrected that. That's okay. It scares me. The specific, do you have that on your spreadsheet there? The specific increases per gallon?
Yeah, so
Please.
it's going, are you talking about per thousand?
I'm looking at 2, yeah, let's do that first, see that.
Okay. So if after the 6,000 gallons, water will be increasing, $1.95 per thousand. And, per thousand after the 6,000, sewer will be up, $4.85 per thousand. And I put together, an account that shows the differences and increases, for 6,000, 10,000, and 15,000 gallons, for us and other local municipalities for comparison.
Oh, okay.
But also, when I was doing this research and calling these municipalities, we are the first, but we are not the last. Worcester County, Wycomico County, they are all, local and, smaller, are all raising their rates. We are not the first, but we, are most certainly not the highest, so.
You have
Yes, I have
copies
for
for everybody? Great. Thank you so much for that.
Your arm.
You got it?
So on the sheet, a lot of information to take in, and Ms. Holloway had talked about the different ways that municipalities do their rate structure or how they bring in income. Some people charge per EDU. Even Berlin has a stormwater management price on their water
On their
bills.
bill?
Some people are charging more for commercial properties. But what we have found, I base this off of our same kind of billing off of 6,000 gallons and off of quarterly billing, so that you could have a apples to apples comparison. So there was no kind of delineation. The only other thing, was Ocean Pines has a tiered system. So up to 10,000 gallons is a certain rate. 10,000 to 25,000 is a certain rate, and it continues to get higher. The higher the user, the more they're going to pay. Salisbury has for their sewer has a per tap. So per sewer line that you have, you get charged a certain rate. Everyone has their own kind of way of making that money, but I just wanted you to have apple to apple, so it was an easy comparison.
Thank you so very much.
Okay, this is nice. Very nice. Wow.
I didn't
Wow.
talk before, as Jean has presented, there's a pie. This is how much it costs. And how are you gonna, the town needs to collect that total pie. And where you place your costs, and that's what she's referring to. In the budget this year, the 2 times for the out of town is to help offset these rates. They're paying 1.5 now. The proposal is to increase it to 2 times. That lowers the presentation for the rates. In answer to your question, the water base rate for 6,000 gallons is currently at $50, and that will remain the same. That's what's proposed.
Currently,
Currently it's $50 up to 6,000 gallons.
That's how great. You look here, it's currently at 50, let's stay at 50, and those are rates.
And after the 6,000 gallons, the proposed rates are going from $7.70 per 1,000 gallons to $9.65 for water per 1,000 gallons. That's for the water.
that's the figure I wanted. Do that again for the group.
Over 6,000 gallons is going from $7.70 per 1,000 gallons to $9.65 per 1,000 gallons. The water line.
Okay, got you. All right, okay.
And then the sewer, the base rate currently for 6,000 gallons is $135, and that proposed is $150. Increase to
With this is
$150.
water, and then this is the sewer, what it is now, and what it is going to be proposed.
Great job.
Yeah, this really helps. This really helps.
So this is everybody for the 150. That what you're saying for the sewer?
For the first 6,000. Is everyone.
Is that, did the other towns have?
Well,
a
not the out of
base?
town people. The
The out of
town
town
will
is
be
different.
300.
Did you find that they base on a certain amount of gallons? Did you say for other towns also?
I ended up
Just
using
use
the
this.
same, Salisbury does, I think theirs is, they bill. Berlin is monthly, Pocomoke is monthly, Salisbury is quarterly, but they have. The one thing about Salisbury is they have 3 different billing districts. And if you live in a certain place, it's lower. If you live toward Warwick and toward the city, it's higher. Like I said, it's that pie,
Each town
you know, it's the
Okay.
pie,
does it differently?
absolutely,
Okay.
differently.
Okay,
So,
this took a little bit of time.
oh,
Thank you for
yeah.
this. Yeah. So, but did they base it on 6,000
Some of them are,
ranges?
Ocean Pines, I think they're $2.40 right out the door before you use a gallon water. But that's what keeps their rates lower at $1.60 per gallon or per 1,000. But you are hit with that before you even turn on your tap. 0 gallons is $240. But that's how they can keep their per gallon so low, because they have that upfront charge, no matter what you use, it's at 0. Some people are only at 2,000. But you have those lower things are people that are doing it monthly. But then they also have to put into the account of what it costs to bill monthly, so.
So Ocean, you're saying Ocean Pine is 240,
So,
and then they pay 160 per gallon?
yeah, that's up to 10,000 gallons.
Right.
And then if you use from 10,000 to 25,000, kind of small on the side, it's $3.50 per thousand. If you use over 25,000 gallons, it's $6. And then they have I guess, a kind of an industrial area that they do have lots of people where they have restaurants. Those people are seeing the biggest impact. So if you have areas that are having more commercial work, that's where they're making up their money, is that they're charging more for the highest of their users.
So it's probably saying if you fill a glass up and that's it for the whole month, they charge $240.
Out the door. 240 out the door.
So
0 gallons.
Per month,
That's, they are per quarter.
per quarter?
Yeah.
Okay.
But before you even turn your tap on, you get charged that, whether your water is on or not.
Is Newark per quarter, do you know?
Newark is, sorry, got the data here. I think they're per quarter too. They are per quarter,
Per quarter,
and they have an EDU charge,
a what
an
charge?
EDU charge
EDU charge.
for water and sewer.
So that $82,
That-
that's on the base, 130.50 is 182. So it is all about where you put your charge.
Yes.
Okay.
So their water and sewer per thousand might be cheaper, but they're also adding more on their base charge because they're charging you per EDU that you have. It's $82 per EDU.
So that's on the bill.
That's on their bill. That's on their bill. We don't,
How's that $82 thing?
that's just, that's
That's a
it's
part
by
of
the
the
customer,
bill.
for the customer, it's part of their bill.
Part of their bill. Wow. Council, any questions? Good, good. Councilperson Fletcher, you good? You're good. Mr. Taylor, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys.
For coming. We really appreciate your input
course.
and, I think what you told us is helps on top of this hallway, gives us a full picture. Okay, thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Still working on the chart for a minute. You got it? Okay. All right.
This is what should have been up there. This should have kind of been shown so that at least this Mill Hill proposed. Then, so that
We didn't need to
people the public could see the difference.
Oh, okay.
But thank you for your hard work. Yeah.
Okay. All right, next on the agenda, we're going to continue budget discussions and, we're going to work on the administration. So if you would turn in your books and take a look at your budget book and take a look. And we also have capital improvement, but we'll start with administration. Mr. Pollitt?
Excuse me, if you like, I can give you a few highlights. I thought I'd pattern my remarks out of the way Bobby did the other night when he presented his water and sewer budget. I'd just like to hit some of the highlights and then basically open it up for your questions and discussion. Basically, what well, let me say first that the administrative part of this covers the operations of the town hall. It covers the finance office, the economic development office, grants office, code enforcement. And for all intents and purposes, it's basically a flat budget in that it doesn't provide for a whole lot of new things. We can report that we will get more money in revenue next year from increases in taxes, from income taxes, and state highway user revenues have gone up. The mayor's budget does not propose any increase in the property tax rate and is balanced with no rate on the town reserves. In other words, we're living within our means. Salaries are provided across the board at a 2.5% COLA, cost of living adjustment, which is the numbers, the inflation rate established by the federal government. We always look at a COLA as not a raise, but just a way to make what you earn this year mean the same next year. It's a cost of living adjustment. It's not considered a raise. In other words, it doesn't give you any additional buying power. Hopefully you can still break even. And there, those people that are qualified for step increases in our classification plan will get their steps. So that's basically it for salaries. There are some dollar increases mainly in professional services, such as engineering, legal, computer software, and programming. And these numbers are based on actual funds spent this year, based on the level of activity we have going on in each of those areas. We've got new attention, as you know, in the current fiscal year. We have combined 2 positions into one in the planning and zoning office. And so we've got money in there for training. We found out that we should have been maintaining or having a records and retention policy in town. I don't believe we found anyone who knows that we've even made an effort to do that over the past, and yet it is required by law. And so we're going to have to spend some time and effort trying to develop a policy for records retention and then actually implement something where we can have control of and access to all of our town records. And of course, we've got several projects being funded through the Civic Plus effort that we started in this current fiscal year. So there is money in the budget for that. As I say, basically, no, in this part of the presentation, there's no real new spending. It's just trying to keep up with the increased cost and provide the same level of service that we have. Again, all within the existing tax rate and without using our reserve funding. So it's, as I say, it's balanced, living within our means.
Thank you.
For the Civic Plus, which line is that on?
The code permitting part is under 7014, contract computer services line 7014. And then the website is under 7025, the media marketing and promotions line.
Seven zero one four.
7014. I think it's estimated around $5,000 for the permitting part of Civic Plus. And then 5,000 approximately under 7025, the media marketing and promotions with the website.
You say 5,000?
Approximately 5,000.
Wrong.
You have $45,000 on that line, 7025.
But you're talking the licensing spot,
Yes.
the licensing,
Sure.
just the license.
Civic Plus, yes,
Yes, but there's more on that line.
yes.
Correct, yes.
So because that's a big jump, 15,
Right, it was 39 this year. And it's now at 45,
So that's the website.
and it's almost, yeah, it's all Civic Plus, and I think some increase in advertising, as I recall,
Right.
on the line.
so this is what we're paying for them, for 39? Or
That's
just
the
for
entire budget
them?
line for media, marketing, and promotions,
So it's not just, do you know what else it is?
advertising.
Whatever.
It should be, it's everything that, Lori uses for media, marketing, and promotions is on that line.
So the contract computer services,
That
what
is
does that consist
the
of?
accounting software maintenance agreement, which is probably about 30,000 of that. And what was the other thing? Oh, the tech support and getting those records in, Mike Noise, tech support is on that line.
Okay.
Does that also include newsletter? Is that line include newsletters?
The contract,
Oh, the
the
contract.
computer
Oh.
line, but yeah,
Okay.
the,
Underneath the whole marketing.
yeah, marketing and promotion.
So if she has something in the newspaper or
That's
that's
under
all
the media, marketing and promotions, yeah.
But the contract is only accounting and tech support.
And Civic Plus, I think. No, that's not under there. Counting, Mike Noise. What else is under there? The code enforcement.
On the contract.
The code enforcement contract.
Anything that is basically tech, almost, is calculated, is under, that we have contract that is for county. And then, email is under
Oh, yes.
contract services.
Is that include too?
Contracts, okay.
That's the cost, yeah, they give it mention.
Any other questions?
The audit is, that's PKF.
And we're paying the access. And that may actually need to be increased if we have to have a single audit. Depending on if you spend $750,000 in state funds or federal funds, they'll have a single audit. I think it's $3,500 to $5,000. I'm not sure if the town, depending on when we pay for criminal. Streets. The moment we, however we pay for that entire package, it's gonna have to start for.
Oh, it will.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I have a question on under the general fund,
Mhm.
the next page, the reimbursement from the water fund. What is?
So this is when the town hired the budget consultant and he created the budget in fiscal year 21. He proposed a different way of calculating the employee's total pay. So admin pay, usually you got 50% is under general fund, 25% is water and 25% is sewer because of the work that is done for the water and sewer through admin. And that is what, and public works, different percentages, public works. So that is salaries that are being paid through admin and the percentage of that the water fund owes the general fund. for that purpose. That's why that salary sheet that was given to you somewhere before, everything was being coded individually and you couldn't see a whole picture of that. Because you would see 50% under admin, 25% under sewer, 25% under water. This was a way to allocate those funds on one line.
The codification, is that part of a system?
We
or-
just got busted this year's budget with that. The codification is all your laws, all your ordinances, everything is,
Okay.
pays through the general code, I believe. And you've had a lot of activity this year,
We
right?
did, we just got caught up with, past couple of years of all the ordinances that have.
All that hadn't been put through.
So we just got that.
And we'll call that now.
Yeah, we're caught up now is put in the ordinance as, digital, by law and on paper, so we have more copies and should be distributed.
Okay, great. E-code on the website, anybody wants to look them up.
And our 7998 miscellaneous, what is that?
Oftentimes, is that under revenue? Oftentimes that is when the town pays the engineering firm for, say, hunting field or, trying to think who else.
What's underneath this?
Pardon?
Who's underneath?
Like when we pay the, engineers or something and it's coded there because we're gonna bill them and it's showing up under miscellaneous revenue. It's kind of a offset. Yeah, there are some miscellaneous that's put
There
on
are some
there.
other things in there, yes, it's just a place we utilize just for things that will come in during the fiscal year. And we don't have a plan for this like, spur of the moment. But then we make a line for it and then we won't move it to that moving forward for the next following fiscal years.
I have a question about the Guy Cottage Susan. I know it's gone. And I'm bringing it back
Oh,
because
please.
I'm not understanding where it is.
It is under the capital improvement budget.
Okay.
The payments to the county are under the capital improvement budget.
Okay.
$25,000 a year for the next 11
How much?
years now, 25,000.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, no, it's, initially you see a black eye Susan on this because we're providing a spreadsheet showing his history. It's no longer in the operating budget.
Saying.
Sorry, I brought that.
Oh, gosh.
How many years? Sorry.
11 more.
Now for legal fees. Under the water fund. Expense.
A lot
Numbers
of,
that,
The water fund is 7016.
a lot of, the ordinances and the changes in the law for the water and sewer is now budgeted under water and sewer. So all the work that's done for the ordinances for water and sewer are now coded under there.
So I'm looking at why is it proposed for so much more than what, it was requested?
Well, the requested budget, I think, in that area is just what we had this year, right?
Which one is general fund, legal?
Well, I'm
Which is
looking,
not by the
I'm
sewer.
looking at the water fund part. And but the budget request is $5,000. And under the budget proposal, it says $12,000. Why is it so much more proposed?
Because I believe the 5,000 is within this year, and I believe you just amended that. I don't have that figure in front of me, because the actual expenses were more than that. They were closer to,
From last
I think
year,
it was over, we were trying to match it.
yes.
from last year.
And eventually, if you have less ordinances and less work on these, that will be less.
But it's not showing on here. It's showing our budget amount. And then it's showing our year-to-date. 2,800.
But we just amended, the amendment is not on this budget year to date. I don't think. Or did we pay after that,
Okay, you're talking about all the legal,
Here we go, on the sewer side, I had 5,000 budgeted for 25. So far, 6 months to date is 5,725. So we're already over budget as of January 1st. I think that's what we were trying to account for.
But that's under yours.
Yeah, I have a different one here.
yes, it's because we're still from the capital expenditures before, for Terminal Street and Market, that we're doing for sewer, water and sewer.
Date and how much.
There's been a lot of, activity with the lawyers, those areas.
The turnout big project and the whole lane, right?
Correct, and then in addition, there's still work that we're looking to do as far as wells, and that will still need laws to be viewed by lawyers as one of the, like the insurance as well.
So as I'm looking at this, I need to be looking at this one, each department too.
That's possible, yes.
It's not all in one place. It's-
Well, this part.
Yeah, because-
But because this is you're working on this before we had even done the amendment. The amendment has passed, but it's not included in here. Now, to run to date, where she's only saying 1480 underwater. I think this is based on what's gonna come, and you haven't, that bill has not been entered, all the Purnell loan expenses for the water loan. That's what I think. But
Some of it, we are seeing if it can be utilized under. Because it's still works.
Still works.
Well.
that was a question we asked, without calling it whether all the legal fees
Yeah.
that are under Purnell
Purnell.
would qualify for ARPA expenses, but I would defer to Grant Hall.
Well, all of the water part for now is coming through the MDE loan and loan forgiveness
Yes.
program that we go to settlement on April 30th.
Yes.
And so there's been a ton of work back and forth between Maureen's office and MDE,
Our attorney.
our attorney, Maureen, and, we've had at least 2 ordinances go through the process, both for this loan, for this project loan, but then also ratifying, as was on the agenda last week, ratifying the 2015 bond that, was tied to another project, but because of the state's needs, we had to go back and ratify that bond again, so.
And we have to pay for that attorney work
Absolutely.
all the way through.
Yeah, and there's still quite a bit. I mean, when we get an email about this Purnell Street closing, there's like 7 or 8 attachments that, have all gone through legal review and red line versions back and forth. So there's a ton of work involved in this.
That help. Understand.
So for our sewer, Under expenses under the water. The water fund, and the next page. Under sewer revenue, 5002.
That
The
is the rate. Increase. Estimate. Really, the estimate based on the proposed rates and Gene's study for the usage. As she said, people were concerned. Lots of different things can affect that figure.
Then
You can see no revenue.
the next page. The contracted professional services. Line number 7017.
That's engineering. Again, all the projects with the wastewater treatment plant and assisting in the NDE compliance and all of that they're assisting the town with.
And what goes along with a corrective action plan?
Yes, that also. Mhm.
And our 2025 budget for that was 10,000, and we're at January 1, we're at 12,154.
Wow.
And under the revenue part, that's the same thing, line 1231, under water revenue. That's for proposed increase.
Which one?
The
Well,
revenues for the water
Yes.
fund,
5,000.
no. Oh, yes, sorry, I wrote on
Yes.
that
That
number.
budget proposal includes that. That's an estimate for revenue. There is also, there's so many variables here. Jane talked about the impact fees. That is a discussion as part of the fees and funds committee. Because in actuality, the rates that the town is charging for impact fees, I don't know how many years they've been that, but the cost is probably twice that, just the cost. It's just, so. It's just, these are estimated revenues and expenses for your entire year. The closer you get to the true numbers, the less room there is for error. And I feel like the numbers on your budget have what is that? What's truer to what
To what
actually happened, so
actually
you have
happened.
your audit, yes.
Anything else? You good? Councilperson Lumpkin? You good? Councilperson Lee?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
See,
Okay.
I look at the budget. What brings the committee's attention? The 27, almost a quarter of a century, over a quarter of a century. Town of Snow Hill has said to our community, our youth, we will provides you with the basketball court that we feel that you need. And what it will do for the community when it can do. I open my comments to the mayor on this issue. Everyone that I have basically talked to, and we talked about this last week, everyone did basically said, yes, it's something that we should have done or something that we need to do. It was indicated that it was in the mayor's budget to the county commissioners. That's who the requests have been made to for over 27 years. Now, 5 mayors said the same thing, have done the same thing. I'm going to ask my colleagues directly to pay this debt to them. And it's not at a good time. No time is a good time. Like it was a good time when it was done 27 years ago, and it wasn't done then. If I remember correctly, and I was trying to think about it. Honestly, I don't honestly remember. But I think when Steve put it in initially, I believe it was less than $10,000, around that $10,000 figure. 27 years ago, a quarter of a century ago. We owe it, colleagues, to our youth to answer the question, to give them something to do. And I want to say this to you, because I remember the arguments in the past came from certain quarters. And we had just built that recreation center, during that period of time, out on 13, and they can ride the bikes down. And some of the other comments that I've heard, they're not going to do anything but tear it up. They're bad actors, and I've heard that comment just as recent this week. This is a high priority in this community. And I'm going to say this too, also on the record. This is not the kind of thing that I feel that I like to, fall on the sword for, of a baseball. There are much other pressing issues. But when a community speaks to me and when I see the value and what it means to this community, I have to stand on that. I'm going to speak directly to Rick because I don't know where it falls, and I feel that I can do that with him, if I may, of course. I don't know, I said something to you earlier that in your presentation, as we talked tonight, about the cost as it related to water and sewer, and I said there are other factors that are impacting upon the decision of where we go around that. I have 2 issues that I want to talk about. Number one is a position that I understand, and according to what I've read in the Marissa's request for salary increase, that she does no longer plan to be with Town Snow Hill if she.
I'm sorry, what? What are you talking about?
Could I interrupt you respectfully for a moment?
Is this an appropriate
A
matter?
personnel matter like that is probably best
That's
Yes,
discussed
okay.
in
That's
confidence.
okay, and I agree with that. And I don't have a problem with it. Let's move the name out of the way. No,
are you talking about administration? Is that what you're
Yeah.
on? Okay, I was just checking.
Yeah, because I believe that in order to find the money that we're gonna need to do that basketball court, that's my concern at this juncture, along with the others, is that we need to look at what's taking place with administration going forward in personnel. Now, I'm concerned that if there's gonna be a vacancy that we're aware of, is that enough money in that position to get the quality of person there to carry on what we basically undertaking? The reality is, and then you can call these personnel management for field that they are, I'm prepared to go to closed session. I think we have got to talk about where we are and how we got where we are in terms of the administration and this budget that is being put forward. I think there's some good things that have happened over the last couple of years in terms of personnel and administration, in terms of positions and hiring. I believe that it has thrown us kind of out of balance in terms of really where we are. What am I saying? I don't know, I'm not advocating that salaries in any fashion be cut. But I look at one salary in here that I'm aware of that was, the individual was offered more than, was paid, hired for more than the position originally called for at offering. So what am I saying? I believe, council, that we are in a tight position with the administrative top tier. I'm not suggesting in any way to you that those positions should be cut.
Can I interrupt you for a minute? What are you looking at in your book?
I'm on the salary page from the administration.
That's fine.
Yes, yes, but I don't want to get, as been kind of indicated, I don't want to mention names.
No, I just wanted to know.
I don't want to mention names.
Yeah. Okay.
But and if it requires, Mayor, going to closed session,
I think it does,
okay?
okay, but not,
Not,
we can't do it
well, I'm not
tonight.
finished, but I'm not finished yet. So,
Would you, kind of finish up, because we have also, a couple other things on the
Mayor,
agenda.
I have to make my case. Everybody else has made their case. Nobody's been asked could they finish up or cut it? So I want the time to
Could
make
you-
the case.
I don't want you to, I want you to finish up. Just kind of
Sure,
conclude,
yes, certainly.
okay.
Well, in moving toward the closed session, let's move it this way. The things that I want to share with my colleagues, Mayor, or things directly related to the passage of this budget. Now, how will we do that prior to the time that we have to pass the budget? Tell me, I don't want to have this discussion after the budget. My concern is that, we have this discussion regarding personnel, regarding where we are and how we got to where we are and the decisions that are being made. Because we cannot, in my judgment, and I cannot, in good faith, support a budget that I recognize that there are some problems with it. And when I recognize that there are some personnel problems that are imminent in this budget that may cause the whole thing to be out of whack. And it's not what I'm saying, it's what has been reported in the context of the administration. Now, if we want to do that in private, when will we be able to do it prior to this budget being required to be there?
We have 2 more meetings scheduled right now. One is Thursday
But that's a public
at
meeting.
5 p.m.
That's a public meeting.
Well, it is a meeting, a budget meeting,
Okay,
and we can go into closed session
then,
at any, yes, we can. And we also have the 22nd, which is Tuesday. We have that scheduled also.
I'm gonna ask respectfully that we do it at the beginning, because I want to be, my colleagues, I will be straight with you as I can. People whom I'm talking to who are interested in this subject matter are relying on me to convey to you, my colleagues who will be voting, their concerns. Many of them showed up tonight. I'm sure some of them will be back, whatever. But I don't want to be in public like there's some division between us. We haven't even discussed. You don't even know what I'm talking about because you just got here, okay? And I want to inform you what the lay of the land really is from the perspective of my constituents.
Okay.
So I think.
Because you're saying things that none of us know what you're really talking about. And so we need to have it in a closed session. We can do that.
Well, can we do a closed session? Can we do it after this meeting?
No, it's not on the
Oh,
agenda.
that's right.
You need 24 hours.
We need 24 hours because we have to let the public know
You're right.
what's going on. All right,
Well,
so
no, I'm not.
conclude, please, quickly, because we,
Okay, but I want an let's have an understanding of what I've requested before we move on. When are we gonna do this?
well, that's up to the council. This is your
Okay,
budget
so
session.
council members, I would like to speak with you on this budget issue. When can we do that in closed session?
Well, we have 24 hours if we decided now, do it for Thursday, or we can do it for Tuesday.
Would you be open to, either one of those dates is okay with me, but I think it's necessary when we do it so that you'll understand what I'm saying, and I don't want to put stuff out there that, in violation.
Might I mention, if you're going to go to closed session for personnel, I would suggest that if it's up to you all to do it on the 17th. Because it's so much more involved, the numbers. That might need to be,
I don't have a problem.
because on the 22nd, you should be getting really close to your final decisions. That would just be my.
Because
suggestion.
that gives you the time
Yes.
you have put in a lot of time and energy into the budget. And then if you have to go through and change anything, that takes
Or
time.
provide you with additional information, or
Right.
anything to that degree, so that gives you time.
Right.
If that works for you all, to go to that closed session.
I
at some
yield.
point on the 17th.
Thursday, I yield, Thursday.
Thursday at 5, closed session at 5, and then follow with the
And
rest.
then follow with that. Okay. All right, good. Thank you. Capital improvements. Mr. Pollitt?
Yes, just to hit the highlights, we have provided funding, although a lot of it is projected to be grant funded from other sources, but we want to continue with the Bank Street project. We've had remarkable success getting buy-in from the county commissioners. We spoke with all three utility companies, cable, telephone, and electric, about varying cable lines. We have a price below what we originally expected we would see. And so that's a project that continues to generate excitement and energy and might happen. We're talking about some basic improvements to what we're calling now the Town Hall Annex at the old PNC building, so that we can move some of our boards and commission meetings over there from the train station. The train station is limited as there's no Wi-Fi there, so it's hard to invite the public to join us remotely when meetings are held at the train station. So we would like to at least be able to offer the old bank building for some of that, in addition to other space that we need by not having the space at Town Hall. It includes money for the comprehensive plan grant. That is a grant. We've been approved $50,000 to hire a consultant to lead us through the comp plan project. We have in the capital plan $100,000 in a fund that is to serve as a match. Anytime we do receive a grant that's going to require a local match. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but in the event, say on the comp plan project, if our low bid or the bid we choose might exceed the 50,000, maybe it's comes at 60 or something like that, then we would be able to access that $100,000 fund to make up the difference We also have a police car, and Public Works asked for a tire changer at the Public Works Department, and so we've included that in the plan as well. Anything else that I'm missing on that list? Those were the new things, basically.
Right. So in the past, you're past the fiscal year 25 capital improvement budget is passed. And you shift those to fiscal year 26, that is what you're voting to pass. But because there's so much money still possibly to be spent from the fiscal year 25 approved capital improvement plan, including Prince Street, I just have them lined up side by side so that you can see. In reality, as Rick just said, there's very little added to the capital improvement plan. Again, I'm trying to determine what information I need to provide, but I know that the basketball courts have been brought up. And, I don't know about the other 25 years. I only know that last year it was requested from the county in writing. I don't know. And they did not give the town the money. It has also been requested this year. So in reality, the expense is in the budget. So it's in the budget. You're asking for the town to, support that. At this time, because of your timeline with the county, you do need to wait and see if the county will fund that. If the county won't fund that, you can determine what you would like to cut or use to complete that. But it's in the budget.
I got that. I got that. My gut.
But they're not going to.
25 years, they're not gonna do it. They haven't done it in over a quarter century. They're not gonna do it now. So, it's not weighted in the county's favor. So I'm saying that we make that decision now.
Well, then if the county gives you the funding,
If they give you funding, then we need to talk about what you do with the money.
well, then you have to talk to the county.
Well,
Because if they give the money, they're gonna give it for that purpose.
absolutely.
And you cannot spend the money before you get your grant funds.
25 years, they don't.
I'm just saying,
Can
showing.
you have it twice in the budget? Can you have that money for the same thing twice?
No,
No.
no,
No,
no.
it'll be over budget.
Okay, that's what I thought.
I would say on the question, folks, and that is to my colleagues, if we're going to do it, if we're sincere about it, let's not wait 25 more years to make that.
But we're saying that it's.
I heard what you said. I respect.
Oh, wait, let him finish, please. Let him
Yeah.
finish explaining.
Yeah, it is in the budget to do the basketball course. The timeline from when we want it done and when we get a grant from the county doesn't line up. But if let's say they don't give us the money, we can definitely move things around. At the end of the day, we find out, compensate for the basketball court. So it's in budget, it's like in line to be done. It's just placement of the fund.
That's a good question. You in line. to be
That's.
I picked it up.
That's up to.
American.
In a regular budget amendment, you come up when you were prepared for it.
Right.
Let's have the conversation about, in closed session about that and other things that are concerned. And if that's an option, let's take a reasonable option. But I don't want to take an option that's gonna be another 25 years.
Any other questions on capital?
And capital improvement.
Any other questions?
I'm gonna ask. Sorry, because I couldn't find it in this book. Can you tell me what you were saying again, Rick? So I can mark it off in my book
Sure.
that you asked for. I know you asked for,
Yes, sir. The Bank Street project is listed. Basic renovations to the old bank building, what we call Town Hall Annex now. The money for the comprehensive plan grant. A police car. And the tire changer for Public Works.
Would you be kind enough to send me that? Can I get a copy of that, or what?
This is basically my notes
Oh, yeah, yeah.
that I just wrote up for myself, but I
Okay,
can clean it up.
I can take that off.
I can clean it up and send it to you.
I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
Is that everything?
Right, I think that there's the, 40,000 for the street additional, for the streets additional, this paving, yes, and then the sidewalks, which I also think is grant funded though, but depending on.
We asked the county commissioner,
County, or sidewalk, yeah, part of it.
and I think the streets was just, it's been, it's, yeah, these were the newer. ones.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. Councilperson Hoffman, something on that? Okay, good. Good. All right, comments alone. Consider date for engineering consultant presentation. So if you would take a look at your calendars. Mr. Tyler, can you explain that one more time about the engineer presentations?
Yes, we, after a lengthy process of getting RFQs out to our potential bidders, we did come down with 2 responses to our request for qualifications from engineering. One was from George Miles and Buer, a reputable engineering firm in Salisbury with great experience. And one, of course, from Davisville and Verdell, who has handled the town's business off and on for about 30 years. Staff has evaluated them, pretty much found them both very similar in qualifications and ability. So we thought it might be, since this is a big decision, we thought it would be helpful if the mayor and council was to set aside time to interview both of them, let each of them come in independent of each other, but at the same night. Take 45 minutes and make the presentations, be available for questions and answers, that sort of thing. And then leave so you could hear the second one. And then after that, just kind of get what impression you all have. So as the, so we can make the best selection. I do have not only our RFQ, but copies of the presentations of each of them, the proposals that each have submitted to share with each of you. So you'll have all that to be able to read and go over before they come in. But I think I would respectfully ask that we schedule this very soon, because some of our grant projects now require us to put our engineering out for competitive bids. And there's one particular project that's been delayed for a while now while we went through this. So if we could find time in the next couple of weeks to do that, it would be wonderful.
And even to help council and myself with the rating sheets, can we?
We didn't really
look at
have.
some criteria?
There was criteria in the RFQ, for instance, familiarity with Snow Hill.
Okay,
Size of the office and resources to be able to apply to projects and that sort of thing, but it's in the RFQ.
it's in there.
That'll be in there.
Okay, great. Okay, thanks. Do you want to wait till after budget, or what do you guys want to do? Look at your calendar.
Before we get to that,
I'm asking, please, just wait a minute. Can you look at your calendar and take a look to see when you would like this, and then we'll go for discussion. So we have election day on May 6th. 13th, we have town council meeting. Are there any suggestions? In the next 2 weeks, you're saying, Mr. Pollitt?
That would be nice, but you've got the budget to get through. I realize time is limited, but I wouldn't want to let it go too much longer.
Okay, so 2 weeks, well, we have the public hearing for the budget on the 29th. Do we want to have another, you want to call another meeting then? Or I don't know how long that public hearing will be.
In my brief experience here, they haven't taken very much time.
Do you want to have a?
Having said that, it'll be a marathon.
Yeah, that's the way it goes, right? Would you want to have it on the 29th? Add it to the agenda?
That's cramming too much, because I would like to make some comment regarding some time for council to fully understand what we're doing. The concern I have, Rick, with the timeline that I'm hearing, is that we're asked to come in to make a humongous decision. This firm that we've been working with, for over, what, 3 decades. And the impact of the decisions that will be made going forward are significant. And I don't know that just to come in and look at some rating sheets and hear somebody speak is enough in terms of the monumental impact that decision could have to give time to counsel, and I'm speaking now for myself, to thoroughly investigate and research and understand this, the full significance. I'm appreciative of you for allowing and offering to allow me as a council person to come in this set to hear. I learned stuff there that I didn't even know that was taking place. So to come in to select that type, that magnitude of persons who are going to position themselves that will be handling and making decisions impacting millions upon millions of dollars, and who they are and what our expectations are. I just don't want to rush it.
Could I make a quick suggestion? Because I'm in line entirely with where your heart is. My thinking is, let's have them in first, see who we're dealing with. Let them make their pitch as to what their qualifications are, what their vision is, how they see them in partnership with the town. Get that as your foundation. And then after the presentations, if you would like to pursue it further, getting more down into specifics and just how to address the things you're thinking of, I would suggest we do the presentations first and then follow up as you're suggesting before any decisions are made. I'm not suggesting that you bring them in one night and then vote.
No. Is that what you were thinking, Councilperson
That's what
Lee?
I heard, that's what I kind of heard, but that's okay, I'm good going with that.
And the mayor also allows you to come to those meetings.
I'm congruent with that.
Okay.
And what I'm concerned about, that maybe you should set the timeline, that you would give some thought, and I heard this. See, this is what I heard initially. Let's hurry up and get this done, because we've got these grants, then it is, we've got some time. So I want to be respectful of the timeline that you see, given the concerns that I, as a councilperson, have for the whole thing. Because I don't just hurry up and rush thing of everything that many things that we do does not set well with me. And it's not your fault.
No, I'm
It's not-
saying,
it's
and I'm
not your fault.
not sure that we have in this case. In fact, I think if you recall last week in my email, I suggested that council could propose questions that they would like to see addressed when they come in with their
They don't know what
presentations.
then when I looked at that, I didn't even bother to respond, but the retort to that is, they
don't know what
they
to
don't
ask.
know what to ask for.
And maybe you won't until you hear their presentation, so that's.
Oh, well.
Yeah, that may be good for you, that you can listen to their presentations and then you can come up with questions and discussion about it afterward.
I would hope that you would consider not given an hour to each one, because that would give us, for those like myself, a chance to ask questions. I think that you want to hear from them, but we want to have a vibrant Q&A with them, because that's going to be the flushing out. That's going to be where the rubber kind of hits the road in terms of going forward. And, the only thing you can establish relations on is what people say.
In this case, our time is your time. Whatever time you require.
Okay, all right, well,
So when would you like to have the presentations? That's my question.
after the budget process.
Okay, and when would that be? In May, you're talking about?
Yes,
Okay, you're talking about, I think the 6th is again, election day, and then we may have a work session on the 7th instead of the 6th, because we don't want to do it on election day. And could you do it on the 7th?
I
Is
would
that
say election day is a long day. Could we do it on the 8th? That's a Thursday.
That's good for me.
Mayor, the room's not available.
The room's not available. We have to check on the room.
on
The eighth is not, right? The
It's the
seventh
seventh?
is,
The
yes,
seventh is.
the eighth is not.
What about the 12th? Is it available?
I would have to ask. I just checked that first week.
Well, I recommend the 12th.
Is the rest of the council okay with the 12th,
That's a Monday, right?
Monday?
Okay, I'll ask Karen.
You're good?
Yep.
Councilperson Fletcher, you good on the 12th? Okay. All right, so we'll check on that date. On that meeting for work session. And that's in place of the 7th or the 8th. Is that correct? Okay.
Thank you.
And,
What else?
or I'm just gonna throw this out, on the 13th, we've got to be here for a 7 PM town meeting, if you wanted to have them before that, or is that not enough time, like at 5?
If they're gonna be 45 minutes each one, that's a long time.
That's gonna go over.
for a
Mhm.
meeting.
Okay, well, we'll check on the 12th. Is that good?
Unless we go to next week of the 20th, and that's pushing it out,
Let's
but
push it.
that's
What
a,
time, what
that's
time?
a Tuesday, and it would be a regular day for, that we usually have.
That's 5 PM?
Yeah, that's okay. So that proposed 12th day is a 5 PM meeting, correct?
Correct. Okay,
Well,
comments from the public,
Will
yeah.
they have, the proposal book that they could review?
Yeah.
Or questions?
Yeah, we'll make sure.
No, I can't.
No, they'll have both proposals and the RFP.
so we get them beforehand,
Before that.
before like,
You can have them now. I mean, I didn't bring them tonight, but they're in my office ready for you.
oh,
Okay, comments from the public, Rita Williams. Please, you come up and give your
Reed
address.
Williams, 207 Commerce Street, Snow Hill Road. And Mr. Lumpkins,
Yes, ma'am.
very nice to meet you on the council, but I'm surprised. All council people should have questions. If you don't have questions, I don't know where you're getting your answers from, where you have questions. So please remember that when you get reelected.
Okay.
Okay, first of all.
Notice she said, when you get reelected in the bottom.
First of all, the county has most of the properties in this town, water sewer wise. And I would like to know how much water sewer they're using and what they're paying. In the summertime, I sit on my porch and watch them hose down buildings. I got so mad one time, I called the town manager, tell you, I called, not that he could do anything about it, I had to talk to somebody. And I called him and I said, I'm sitting here, I can't even water my plants. And they're cooling off, hosing down their buildings. They are using so much water. And so that's where a lot of our water is going. And I would like to know how much they're using and how much they're paying. That's no more than fair. Because to be hosing down buildings once a week during the summertime and I can't even water my plants. Well, anyway.
Would you like to answer?
Can you answer that,
Yeah.
Melissa? Go
So
ahead.
I can't give you a gallon amount, but they pay the same water sewer rates as residents in town. All those buildings are metered. And they pay the same rates as residents.
So the thousands and thousands and thousands of gallons, if they pay their full water and sewer, we shouldn't have to pay anything. Cause I'm telling you, I sit on my porch and watch them, and you know, I'm right next door to them.
ma'am.
Okay, now, and what I don't quite understand is the sewer rate. Okay? Now, I have a few bills here. One for, that used, 5,000 gallons. And the water is $50 and the sewer is $135. And I have another one here that used 250 gallons. The water is $50, sewer is $135. The last one is zero. Consumption, 0. And the water is $50 and the sewer is $135. How can you charge for sewer if there's no water running in it? Okay.
Thank you.
Answer. Okay, and,
I was waiting.
Please.
You're ready.
Please call. Oh, did you have an answer?
Well,
She only has a couple more minutes. Whatever you want else to
Okay.
ask.
although now
You're done.
we are not
You're
doing,
done. I'm sorry.
uh,
You're done. What?
okay, I'm done.
Finish up.
Okay, that's okay. I
You got
got
something?
papers.
Okay.
Or if I can pass them out for the council to look at, please, and go, I've got the numbers on there. So you can do some research, because we don't have, leachate and whatever anymore. So some of those totals, I'll take them back.
Is this,
You got an
is this
extra one.
writing on it? Did you want that on
Oh,
there?
no, and I said, yeah, it's just said without leachate and sepsis, we do not need some of these totals that's
Okay.
on here.
Do you want to answer now, Melissa, or do you want her to call you to answer the questions she had about the bill?
well, the bills are based off of, and I didn't make the bills, but they're based off of from 0 to 6,000 gallons, whether it's used or not used. And that base rate is built in, well, if I'm correct, is to keep all bills at a certain rate, correct?
Yeah.
Right, but if you're not using.
Well, then, if you don't have this base rate, the per gallon rate will change. That's what Gene's study is saying.
I know what you said, it said.
In other words, and that's what these figures that.
Okay,
That's all.
council. I just have to
Okay,
say, it's up to
okay,
y'all to
finish
do the
up.
budget. I'm
Thank
not,
you.
I just said the.
Finish up. Okay, announcements from council. Councilperson Lee, would you start, please? No, no, I would have done. Okay,
I wanna thank the staff, sincerely. I appreciate what you've done, and what you're doing. I really do. I had a meeting today with the head of the yeah.
Planning, zoning, and building.
I meet monthly with him. And when I shared with him that we're going through a difficult process right now. And we discussed the things that he was talking about. It certainly makes a lot of sense. I don't want this budget process to alienate. And I'm gonna speak for me, and I'm sure my colleagues feel the same way. Relationships, because, you know, for those who've been here, whether you like it or not, the relationships have been tainted. And they were tainted in terms of goodwill, but it just didn't work out. Some of the things that predecessors have wanted to do have not worked out, but we're locked into them. So that's where we are. We are locked into, and I say this to my colleagues, we are locked into a movement that is no longer really operable in terms of those who started that movement. So the decisions that I feel that we are making now are decisions in part and parcel, not our decisions. So how we sort through that and how we get through that, council, your figures, what you're doing, speak for themselves. I don't believe nobody's come up with or even suggest that your figures are inaccurate or you have erred grossly, you know, going through this, some minor stuff is gonna happen, and you gotta sort it out in reasonable terms. And so I do want the staff, and I do want you to know, Rick, and your staff, I'm not taking pot shots at them in any fashion. I wanna right the ship that I want to sail on. I want to right the ship so I can sail on it to do the things that I believe are in the best interest of this town as well as you. So let's continue to move forward and let's do the best thing and the right thing for the people of Snowden.
All right, thank you. Councilperson Lumpkins.
Yeah, I was amazed to see the crowd that we had out tonight. That was really great. I really appreciated everybody that came out here tonight. I also wanted to thank Bobby. I got a tour of the wastewater treatment plant. That was the cleanest wastewater treatment plant I've ever seen. I mean, just immaculate, beautiful operation down there.
Thank you.
And I really appreciated that. It gave me a whole new perspective on what you're doing down there. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Councilperson Hunter.
I want to say, I thank each and every one of you for the time that you are really spending on this. I really love what Melissa did, because that puts stuff in a different perspective. And you could see, I really wish it was up there for our public to see at that time. I do think that those first two rows, if they could have seen it and not just listening, that's a different perspective than what Jean's slide. Her presentation was good, but that actually numbers show. And what you have on that chart is actually what people will see in their bill. And that's what most people go by if they're gonna have an increase. And I do know when the bill did increase, that's what I was asking for before last year when it increased. So you could actually see the difference. And I think then people wouldn't been so blowed out, but it's gonna be a hard job for us. But I tell you, I've been to sleep with this book for 3 nights. And I am trying to do my best of counting numbers, but thank you all. And I do hope that we all can work together to figure out a good budget for this year.
Thank you, thank you. I just want to say, as said many times, staff is working diligently on this budget. They have spent long hours and are very, very invested in doing the right thing for the town of Snow Hill. And I appreciate each and every one of you. You are a great team. And Mr. Pollock, thank you for being the leader of this great team, and I appreciate all you do. And council, I want you to go through, that's what I did when I was on council, to go through each and every line and see what we can do, what we can make better, and it's fine with me. That you bring whatever you need to the table. And I appreciate your hard work too. I just wanted to say we do have a budget hearing. Again, not a budget, but a budget session, work session on Thursday at 5 p.m. So we'll be back here again on Thursday. I did want to bring an update with a meeting for Tidal Health and AGH merger, which is happening May 1st. They are separate right now, but AGH and Tidal Health were together at the meeting, the CEOs. They want to do the best they can for Snow Hill. They're looking at property in Snow Hill to expand their services. And the PA that I mentioned several meetings ago will be coming in a month. Her name is Mary Mason, and she will be coming to a county health department. So we will have an additional physical assistant, doctor's assistant. So we're very excited about that. Also, World Atlas named Snow Hill as one of the 11 places, the best places to live in Maryland. So that was really exciting. I loved it. So we'll take it. Positive press, we'll take it. So, Okay, yes. Mhm.
Forgot. Tomorrow evening, at the firehouse, it will be up from 3 to 6 p.m. Delmarva Power will be there for anybody who needs help with their light bills. So pass the word
What time is it?
from 3 to 6
3
p.m.
to 6?
Yes.
Okay. All right, good. good.
And we never recognize people, but for our Facebook viewers and anybody that's on Zoom, thank you for watching.
That's good. Yes, thank that. Thank them very much so. Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
That's second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you all.